Oh, hi. My name is Jaden. I'm the son of Isaac. I live with my mum, my sisters, and I am a, supernatural being. Tomorrow is going to be my first day at my school. I'm going for the day. Let me show you around my mum's, my sweaty mum's house. Up here is mum's room, my room, my sister's room. Over here, down here we have the lounge room, bathroom, my other sister's room, then my other sister's room. I'm the only son in the family. Then, downstairs area. That place down there, we use it for vacation house down there, what my dad bought us. We bought a bigger house because, all of us won't fit in that one small house. That's the school over there, where I'm going to. Let's watch anime. Press play, yo. Fucking urge.
Just 10 minutes a day sharpens your mind. And as you get older, it's important to keep your brain healthy. A few rounds of this game allows your mind to focus while solving puzzles in beautiful and relaxing environments. Can you find the...
May as well go see Chica, my SWAT, animatronic. Why not? Chica and her family should live here. Shit. 3, 2, 1. Action. Hey Chica, I'm horny. Don't fuck another at my house again. Shall? Cool, come on. Close the door. Let's go chill up on the balcony.
Got it, baby daddy.
Good girl.
Hi, son.
Hey mom.
Hi, Chica. Hi.
Come on Chica. Press play. So Chica, tell the camera how old you are.
I'm 6 years old.
How much dick have you had? Tell them.
100 dicks in me.
You got them what? You're a hoe, Chica. You're my hoe.
Oh, I know, Daddy, I am.
You got them what, Chica? Stop. Love you, Chica.
Love you too, baby daddy. My master.
You got them right. My animatronic hole.
I know I am daddy senpai.
More SWAT car animatronic.
I know daddy I am senpai.
You got them right on your daddy. Who's my real sweet chica? Tell them where did we meet?
We met at a party at your house, your pocket dimension.
You got them right. Tell them who your father is.
My father is the purple guy. My mom is Bonnie. Oh, and by the way, I'm pregnant with your kid.
Good.
I know, daddy senpai.
You got them right. That's a good girl. You're pregnant with my children.
I know.
He's not born. It's on YouTube now.
What? Mallow, the
Not a
Google
part of
question
it.
asked
Foundation.
is Mallow a furry? I'm not a furry, so no, I'm not gonna have sex with the skeletal humanoid raccoon app. Pass.
I'm not a furry, but I would. Why not? I would smash that
SCP-173. Despite Peanut's obvious thickness, this thing is made of concrete and rebar. Not the best materials for a real doll. You ever skin your knee on the pavement? Imagine that, but completely encompassing your genitals. Pass. SCP-096. You can't even look at this thing's face, or it freaks out and does everything in its power to murder you. I don't need somebody to be the most confident person on the planet, but how the hell are you
This guy is
in a
great.
conversation when the
I
only
met
thing he wants
him.
to talk about is...
He's not tough at all.
SCP-1903. This weird mask lady is the internet horror equivalent of a Playboy bunny.
I met this guy. He didn't do anything to me.
SCP-001. When daybreak.
And 682 too. Didn't do anything to me. They're weak.
Assimilate all life into its mass. It doesn't matter, because both of these things involve becoming a part of something grander than yourself, and that's pretty corny. SCP-049. Okay, so this one is completely covered in a latex-like material, so that's a plus. Although no one knows what goes on with that body under that cloak, and I don't really have a thing for being Frankenstein and lobotomies. Pass. SCP-682, the hard-to-destroy reptile. I'm sorry, this thing has obviously never seen my penis. Won't be hard to destroy when I'm done with it. Smash for the good of all life. SCP-035. Now, this thing's holes are constantly weeping some sort of slippery black fluid, and whether it's a smile or a frown, this evil mask always has an open mouth. Smash. This thing thinks it's so evil, I'm about to skull fuck that grin right off its face. SCP-303. That mouth, though. Although, when the door is open, this thing just kind of disappears, if I remember correctly, so we'd always just be gazing longingly through the windows. Long-distance relationships typically have not gone well for me. Pass. It seems like a nice entity, and we'd both just get hurt. SCP-5909. A giant crustacean that is light years away from Earth, and also 2.1 light years inside. Don't get me wrong, no shade to those bearing the thickness, but there's no way that this one just doesn't end up like a hot dog in a multiple light-year wide highway. SCP-3008, the Infinite IKEA. Now, last time I did something like this in an IKEA, I was forcibly removed from the kitchen section after making the meatballs a little extra Swedish, if you know what I mean. But since this one is literally infinite, there's no way they can kick me out for health code violations. Smash. SCP-953, Sociopathic Fox Girl. Okay, I know I just said I'm not a furry, but like, she's really hot, so smash, but I'm still not a furry. Don't call me one in the comments or I'll scream. SCP-2136. You do not put the bodies in the water. You do not put the bodies in the water. You do not put the bodies in the water. SCP-1550. Dr. Wondertainment's Custom Pets. Okay, so if we put this Mighty Morphin egg in a pair of demonias, I'm at least 86% sure we'll get like a hot goth dom. Smash. SCP-054. Water Nymph. Remember when the internet got really creepy about Vaporeon and about how sticking it in a thing of water would feel really good like a jacuzzi jet? It would be like that, except it's a water woman. So you wouldn't be as sick to mention for wanting to stick it in something that looks like a goddamn raccoon. SCP-999. So this thing is just a blob that radiates your love energy. I think it might be able to morph and change shape too. I mean, is there even any question to this one?
Even if he was in jail, I hate SCP-999.
All these unknowable horrors that it takes a highly trained and skilled organization to contain. Yeah, they look pretty scary, right? And I took them and basically just turned them all into goddamn glorified real dolls. What do you think I'd do to a human that didn't like, comment, and subscribe with all notifications enabled and watched all my other crap? You wouldn't want to find out. I'd like to shout out My Bunny 23 and Grave Mud for these awesome new...
She has a brother complex and is excited to live with him. However, Akita was surprised at Akiko's precociousness, such as her demanding he peep on her in the shower, or expecting them to share a lover's night on the floor. However, Akito denies all of her advances, greatly disappointing Akiko. The next morning, Akiko tries to explain to Akito her brother complex, but the latter attempts to change the subject. Akiko says that as a reward for making breakfast, she would like some form of a physical award from him, but he rebuffs her. Later, Akito apologizes to Akiko that they live in a shabby dormitory, and because of this, there is extra work to be done. But Akiko is happy just to be living with her brother. Akiko declares her love to Akito and he reciprocates, interpreting it as a sibling display of love. She faints from happiness hearing those words, but is annoyed when she learns that there are other girls living at the same dormitory. The other girls of the dormitory, all of whom are infatuated with Akito, are the members of the student council, the president, the eye-patch-clad and sexually aggressive Arashi Nikaido, the vice president, the rather dry Anastasia Nasuhara, and the accountant, the earnest Ginbei Hiromi Sawatari. Akiko is also the secretary, while Akito is a special assistant, simply so they could spend more time with him. But Akiko is jealous when he interacts with them. During dinner, the girls fight over who gets to sit next to Akito and spoon-feed him and make various cases as to why they should be the one to feed him, such as how Ginbei cooked the food for him. Akiko is stubborn and declares that she alone holds the right to spoon-feed Akito, as she is his sister. Akito and Akiko live in the same room, separated only by a thin divider. He goes to her side to complain about her muffled laughter, where he learns she was reading a brother-sister love manga, written by Shindo Koichiro. Although somewhat disturbed, Akito wants to respect Akiko's preferences, and says he will pretend he didn't see her reading the manga, if Akiko keeps it out of his way from now on. The next day, Akito meets with his editor, Jino Karuko, at a cafe to talk about his manuscript. It is revealed that Akito himself is Shindo Koichiro, a pen name he uses when writing his brother-sister novels. The next day, Akiko once again misunderstands Akito's indifference to her, as him simply pretending to be a tsundere, and resolves to get him to act like one properly. She wants to spend more time with him, but she constantly must attend classes that prevent her from doing so, which allow the other members of the student council to each have alone time with Akito. Anastasia goes into Akito's classroom and invites him to a picnic next weekend, acting like a tsundere. Ginbei gives Akito some handmade cookies she baked, and talks about how Akito hasn't made any friends in his class. They argue for a while, but the people around them view it as a lover's quarrel. Arashi invites Akito into a room for a private meeting and attempts to seduce him. This almost works, but Akiko suddenly enters the room, unlocking the door with her own key. Akiko learns that the reason why Akito hasn't made any friends is because her obsessive attitude scares people away. So she decides to just visit him once every 2 break periods, which Akito points out isn't very different. Anastasia later invites Akito into her room and talks about her dreams of being a comedian. Additionally, having been born in an affluent family, she has yet to unpack, used to the fact that she had servants to do grunt work for her before. She asked Akito to help her unpack her boxes, but instead, he suggests he teach her how to. She agrees and learns from Akito on how to unpack her room, such as folding away her clothes and boxes. However, as Akito approaches the last box, a frantic Anastasia tackles it, accidentally spilling the contents. Various stuffed toys she has personally named. Akito calls her cute, which flusters her. The next day, while Akiko and Akito are having lunch, Anastasia sits down with them and asks Akito if she can be his girlfriend, much to Akito's shock. She teases the two of them by demonstrating the 3-second rule outside the door, who says she saw something move in the darkness. Akito jokes it is a ghost, which scares everyone, including Arashi, who's acting tough. When Akiko works up the courage to go with her, everyone else ends up going with Akito to check out the ghost. They reach a wall, and Akito...
Let's pause it. Let's go chill downstairs in the balcony, you know.
Got a baby daddy sometime.
Good girl. Let's chill here. Actually, let's chill here, Con. Sit down. You can sit down. Thanks. You're welcome. Okay, press play.
Takes turns lifting the girls up on their shoulders one by one. However, when it's Anastasia's turn, Akito realizes she has no underwear on. Suddenly, a crow startles the group, causing them to separate. Akito is with Arashi, Anastasia is with Akiko, and Ginbei is with Arisa. Anastasia recalls that when she first met Akiko 6 years ago, she was interested in her, and how loudly she proclaimed her love for her brother. Anastasia learns of the circumstances behind their separation, and is intrigued by what kind of person Akito is. Jino awakens from a dream where she lived in the dorm room together with everyone else, alongside their children with Akito. She remarks she still has a fever. A year before the start of the events, Anastasia confronts Akito as he looks at the school. Anastasia accompanies him, under the pretext of preventing him from doing anything perverted, but is very interested in Akito. She explains to him that when she looks at him, she can't help but be nervous and say vulgar things, despite her rather flat-toned voice, and even offers to let Akito take home the panties she's currently wearing. Akito declines, which greatly intrigues Anastasia, who remarks many men would die for this chance. The two become friends, and Anastasia is grateful, as she is able to spend time with both the popular Akiko and the man she is interested in. Back in the present, Akiko calls Anastasia's attention, who has trailed off in her thoughts. Anastasia asks for hypothetical help, and what would Akiko do if she did not have any panties to wear, and she earnestly gives solutions. Anastasia confides in Akiko, telling her that her life has changed ever since she came into her life, and she kisses Akiko on the cheek, flustering her. The group makes their way back to the dorm, having not found anything. Suddenly, Jino appears, whom they assume was the ghost Arissa saw. Suddenly, green lights appear in the bushes, causing everyone to be afraid, latching onto Akito. But it turns out it was just kittens. However, actual will-o-wisps appear, causing everyone to be afraid once more, and they all sleep in Akito's room for the night. The next day, Akiko, dressed in traditional garb, tells them how lonely she has been while they were apart. Akito reassures her that she has done wonderfully as a little sister, and that he will be there by her side to protect her. Akiko attempts to seduce Akito again, who sends her out of his room, much to her dismay. In an internal dialogue, Akito reveals that he and Akiko are not blood-related siblings at all, and all him refusing her advances thus far was out of great self-control. He resolves not to let her find out, as this is the only thing that keeps her from trying anything too outrageous. That night, Akiko has once again slipped into Akito's futon. I need some sort of instruction manual.
Papa and Mama are flirting.
No, we are not! Keiichi Murasato is a sophomore at the Nakomi Institute of Technology who expected more from life after living through lonely high school days. But that hasn't been the case. He joins the auto club, expecting a fun-filled experience. But the club turns out to be boring, and he laments the lack of females in his life. One day he wakes up late, and as he rushes to college, he reminisces about being rejected by the college hottie, Seiyoko Mishima. Just when he thought his day couldn't get any worse, members from the auto club drag him around the campus as they try to raise funds for the club. After helping a student fix his bike, Keiichi pursues the student on his bike after he jets off without paying for their services. Keiichi takes a shortcut that allows him to catch up with the erring student, but he causes too much damage and ends up using the bike recovered to pay for it. He daydreams about having a girlfriend he can take on his bike, but he snaps back to reality and decides to go to his dorm. At home, members of the auto club inform Keiichi of a party they all need to attend, and Keiichi is forced to stay back to keep watch over the door. While the seniors are gone, Keiichi carries out tasks given to him by seniors. Finishing up, he realizes he must return a borrowed VHS tape and runs to the store. On his way home, he comes across a crying child who misplaced her mom's wallet, and he accompanies her until she finds it. At home, he tries to relay a message meant for one of his seniors, but instead, a goddess picks up the phone, and soon she appears in his room, which shocks him. She says her name is Belle, and tells Keiichi that she is here to grant his wishes. Keiichi offers Belle some tea, and Belle informs him that goddesses exist to rescue those in distress. She further explains that his misfortunes had earned him the right to receive a blessing from heaven as a wish. Keiichi has a hard time believing, but Belle reads his mind and asks him why he never had a girlfriend. Keiichi points out that he is poor and not very attractive, but Belle tells him it doesn't matter to her, and that she believes that he is special. Keiichi wishes that a goddess like Belle would always be by his side, and before he realizes what he just said, Belle instinctively grants his wish. Realizing what just happened, Belle calls the Almighty to find out if the wish Keiichi just made was valid, and she turns to tell Keiichi that she will now be by his side forever. Still shocked by what just happened, Keiichi fantasizes about everything he and Belle could do together. The seniors come back from the party. They walk in on him and Belle, which freaks out Keiichi. Belle informs Keiichi of the system force, which causes terrible things to happen when they get separated. The auto club seniors kick Keiichi out of the dormitory, and he sets off on his bike with Belle by his side. They head over to a friend's place, and Keiichi is forced to play a game with them. They try to dupe Keiichi out of his money, but he keeps on winning, and they throw him out. They end up going to Keiichi's school and staying in an abandoned car, where they spend the night talking. The following day, Keiichi wonders how they will survive, since he doesn't have money, and they need a roof over their heads. Belle realizes how vital money is, and she stands up to recite a magic spell. As soon as she's done, the child from the first episode spots Keiichi, and her mother treats them to lunch. The little girl points out that Belle's clothes are weird, and she magically transforms them into regular human clothes, which shocks everyone around. As they continue their search for a new home, Keiichi tells Belle not to use magic in the open, and she replies that she can only use her powers a few times a day. After several hours of searching, Belle asks the Holy Spirit for a place to stay, and it leads them to a temple. As they enter the temple, Keiichi is knocked out by a monk called Oshu, but Belle uses her magic to heal him. Oshu apologizes for hitting Keiichi, and Keiichi asks if Oshu will allow them to stay at the temple for the night. Instead, Oshu gives them a place to stay, and he also employs them to help him do cleaning around the temple. He slips and falls, but Belle uses her magic to save him before he hits the ground. Oshu watches everything in secret. At night, Oshu spies on Keiichi and Belle, but he falls asleep as the night progresses. Belle uses the opportunity to sneak out of the temple to summon the goddess Holy Belle. Oshu wakes up to find Belle and Holy Belle restoring the temple, and he is utterly shocked. Keiichi and Belle go to the city, and Keiichi buys teacups when Belle says she loves tea, and they happily walk home after buying other groceries. The next day,
Ryota losing a game of poker against Mary Sayato and lost his social status and became indebted to her, as well as becoming her personal friend in the process, and as a punishment is treated as a slave by his schoolmates. Yumko Jabamai, a new transfer student, joins Hayako Private Academy as it approaches its 122nd anniversary since its founding. The class representative, Ryota, personally giving her a tour of the academy. While showing her around the academy, Ryota becomes flustered at Yumko's closeness and moves away before asking her if she's ever gambled before. To which she replies that she understands the basic rules of some gambling games. Ryota tells her that gambling at the academy is almost considered a tradition, and that after school many of the class and club rooms turn into gambling dens. He warns her that there are a lot of rich students at the academy who have infinite amounts of money to gamble with, and that she needs to be careful or else she'll be entrapped in one of their games. Yumko begins to laugh, causing Ryota to look surprised at her reaction. She remarks that the thought of such sort of gambles sounds fun. Yumko is then shown surrounded by many of her female classmates when she returns to class as they bombard her with personal questions. Mary introduces herself to Yumko and invites her to a gambling match after school, much to the concern of Ryota. Yumko accepts in the classroom, is then swiftly changed into a gambling den with she and Mary sitting in the middle of the room facing each other and their classmates surrounding them. Yumko asks Mary what game they should play. Mary suggests they play Vote Rock, Paper, Scissors, an original game that was created by the class in which students draw a rock, paper, or scissors onto a card that is then placed into a sealed, metal box that prevents the players from seeing what's on them. Mary then goes over the rules as she and Yumko draw 3 cards each out of the metal box and pick 1 card out of their hand to play. She then further explains that if they get a tie, they must pick one of the other 2 cards they have yet to play. Ryota attempts to protest the game, but Mary grabs him by his tag and coldly tells him to bring them some poker chips. Although Yumko loses, Mary insists that they keep playing the game, and when she gets no response or reaction from Yumko, cruelly taunts her that it seems like she's getting cold feet after having lost 1 million yen. Yumko calmly replies that the game is only just getting started and asks Mary if she would like to play 1 more game. This surprises Mary but worries Ryota, who is concerned Yumko will accumulate debt and be forced to become a pet. Mary agrees to another round and starts cruelly taunting Yumko behind the camera. Yumko grabs her school bag and opens it, spilling stacks of yen onto her desk before placing a bet of 10 million yen. This shocks everyone, especially Mary, who is concerned that Yumko is carrying that much money on her. Mary berates Yumko and tells her that there's no way she can bet so much of her own money on a single game. Yumko's eyes change to a crimson color as she remarks that making such high-risk bets on a single game is what makes it fun. She remarks that madness is simply the essence of gambling, and that in a capitalist society, money is the ruling force and synonymous with one's own life. Because of this, a sane person wouldn't entrust their entire life to luck, but yet people go to casinos because they derive pleasure from it. And as a result of this, gambling becomes more fun the crazier it gets. In the student council room, the president receives a report about the new transfer student. The president, interested, remarks that there's now a snake within their paradise. Mary, who is still in the classroom with Yumko and their classmates, gets up from her desk and refuses to play the gambling game any longer. Yumko taunts her with her own words, asking her if she's gotten cold feet. This infuriates Mary's pride, who decides to play the new round. Mary reveals in an inner monologue that she has 21 out of 30 students in the classroom are rigging the game in her favor, either with the hopes of increasing their own social status or do them owing her a debt of some sort. Confident because of this trickery, Mary believes that she'll win the game. Mary asks Yumko if she's ready to begin the game, but gets no response as Yumko is seen staring at her cards. Yumko then reveals to Mary that she knows about her rigging the game in her favor and that most of the students are working for her. This shocks Mary and causes a stir to erupt in the class. Yumko deduces that not all of the students can be in her pocket, as there has to be a portion of them that would assure her victory, and that Mary didn't do a good job of hiding signs that the game wasn't in her favor. During 2 games where Yumko bet 500,000 yen, Mary played the same cards twice, which convinced Yumko that she was up to something. Shaken by this, Mary convinces herself that Yumko's smack talk won't disturb her confidence in the rigged game. A tense moment settles between them as both of them produce their drawn cards. A look of pure disbelief is seen on Mary's face as she draws a paper and Yumko produces scissors, revealing to her that she lost the game, allowing Yumko to win 8.8 million yen in earnings. Yumko then asks her to pay up the large sum of money. Mary, still in disbelief, struggles to come to terms with the outcome of the game and reveals that she wanted to win and force Yumko into debt and eventually into servitude as a pet, the same thing she did with Ryota. Mary tells Yumko that she's incapable of producing such a large quantity of money to pay her back, but asks for an extension period of a few days to amass it. Yumko walks away while telling Mary that she had a fun time, so she doesn't mind waiting for Mary to pay up her debt. Ryota goes after her when she exits the classroom, and asks her how she figured out her ruse. Yumko reveals that it was easy, as she knew from the start that Mary was rigging the game and manipulating the votes, and as a result of this, all she needed to do was figure out which card would be the most common. But to do this, there would have to be some sort of communication system among those who were participating in the ruse, but that Mary wasn't a part of it, as she didn't signal out a sign or made any attempt to communicate with those who were helping her, but instead that it was someone else in the class who was giving a signal on what people should draw. She figured everyone was staring at her during the game, but that she was wrong, and instead everyone was staring at the person behind her, who happened to be Ryota. Yumko then tells him that once she figured out the ruse, all she had to do was figure out what card he was signaling Mary's helpers to draw with the aid of her hand mirror. Ryota reveals that he's planning to drop out of the academy due to his inability to pay off his large debt that he owes to Mary and others. Ryota remarks that he wishes he had Yumko's confidence and bows to her in apology. Yumko gives him a large stack of cash as a thank you gift that expresses to him her feelings of having a fun time gambling. Ryota tries to refuse the gift, but Yumko quiets him and tells him that she hates situations in which she knows her own outcome in a game, as it really isn't gambling. Due to this, Ryota realizes that Yumko isn't as normal as she seems, but instead a compulsive gambler. As they walk into the classroom, the two of them see Mary standing in front of her desk that is covered in graffiti, a broken doll that resembles her, a pet tag, and a knife that is stabbed into the desk. Yumko, concerned and confused by this, and asks Mary Sayatome if she's being bullied. This causes Mary to tell her to shut up as she thrusts her tag into Yumko's face and coldly responds that this event is all because she lost against Yumko in a gambling match. As a taunt, the class begins to chant "Mike, Cat" at Mary until she slips on her tag. At lunch, Ryota tries to appease Yumko by telling her that what happened to Mary was not her fault, but rather a result of the academy's rules. Because the academy has many students from influential backgrounds, the school determined that skills such as bargaining, lip reading, and the ability to compete are important skill sets that are required for the development of students who will eventually become leaders.
Hajime's left arms and eats it. Hajime barely makes it by transmuting his way deep into the ground. With a bit of protagonist luck, Hajime finds himself directly beneath a divinity stone that is holy enough to save his butt. As he chugs down the water, it gives him vitality to cope with the pain in his missing arm. Alone and resentful at his terrible fate, Hajime starts having flashbacks which reveal his life before he fell into the abyss. He's shown as a weak link.
What you looking at, werewolf? Get the fuck out of here. Get going. Get going, I said. Get going. I said, get going. Dumb werewolf. Go with your pack. Get fucking going, Khan. Press play.
They show him as a weak link who gets when he makes an attempt to transmute, two giant cyclops next to the door come alive and immediately start attacking Hajime. He quickly takes down one cyclop, but the other one is not as slow as his friend and actually gives Hajime a hard time with its defensive magic. But no threat is too great for the wimp turned into a badass. He uses a gun to shoot the eye of the cyclop, eliminating him. After inspecting the cyclists' corpse from the aerial, he finds 2 mana stones inside their bodies. He uses the...
Otherwise you're gonna lose, you're gonna make the... You're gonna... You know what fucking mean, Ralph. Get the fuck out of here. You're not welcome on my property. Well, my mum's property anyway. Press play.
Stones to unlock the door and finds a naked blonde lowly stuck inside a cube. The girl looks at Hajime and says, "Help me, step bro, I'm stuck." She reveals that she hails from a powerful line of vampires and was betrayed by her people. After hearing this, Hajime uses his power to break free the girl. Now free from captivity, the girl asks Hajime to give her a name, and after pondering he names her Yui after the moon. Hajime and Yui bond over their shares of betrayal as they barely escape from a sudden shower of projectiles. On the other hand, Hajime's classmates are planning their comeback at the labyrinth. A gigantic scorpion with 4 claws and 2 tails drops from the ceiling to continue its assault on Hajime and Yui. To take down such a massive threat, Hajime coordinates his attack with Yui's magic. Together, the two successfully kill the overgrown bug. As they continue their descent into the labyrinth, Yui asks Hajime how he ended up here. Hajime then narrates his tale of betrayal, making Yui tear up. Hajime expresses his yearning to return home, which makes Yui sad. Upon noticing, Hajime offers Yui to come with him. Hajime learns from Yui about the war between Mavericks and gods. When the Mavericks began to lose the war, they created labyrinths to seek refuge. Yui says that if they find a Maverick, they'll find their way out. Suddenly, the two are attacked by a group of monsters under the control of Flower Monster. As Hajime is running with Yui on his back, they are met with the Flower Monster, who takes a hold of Yui, using her to attack Hajime. Yui urges Hajime to attack without worrying about her. Hajime opens his fire that goes past Yui, hitting the Flower Monster directly. After killing the monster, Yui gets mad at Hajime for shooting at her without hesitation. After making it to level 100, Hajime and Yui come across an extravagant door. As they make their way inside, hoping to have found the Maverick's lair. Suddenly, an ominous magical circle appears at the ground, making Hajime prepare for another battle. A giant Hydra appears with each head possessing different powers. Hajime and Yui are relentlessly attacked. The Hydra even manages to put Yui in an Itachi-style genjutsu, making her tear up between the battle. Hajime rushes to her aid, kissing her to wake her up. He promises Yui they're going to go home together, although that doesn't last for long as Hajime gets brutally hit by the Hydra. Yui carries the battle the best she can, but just when she's about to be overpowered, Hajime rises from the dead in a desperate attempt to save his beloved. Naturally, the two beat the overpowered Hydra after facing a few casualties. Back at the Haled Kingdom, their homeroom teacher Aiko confronts Pope about sending her students to fight without their will. She threatens the Pope that she will withdraw her help and skills as the farmer for the kingdom. Coming to an understanding, the Pope agrees to let the students fight only at their will. At the labyrinth, Hajime's classmates are standing at the same spot where they lost Hajime. Shirasaki's ejection doesn't go unseen by her peers. Kuki pushes Shirase in a sim he outright refuses. After some more convincing, Shia strikes a deal with Hajime that involves her navigating the next labyrinth, surrounded by a giant fog that causes people to lose direction. Upon meeting the bunny people, Yui and Hajime get to work, slaying monsters left and right. Then the two help the people to relocate somewhere safe. When it's time to go, the rabbits start begging Hajime to help them get stronger. Despite being irritated, Hajime helps the rabbits train while Shia trains with Yui. Very quickly, the timid rabbits evolve into buff macho rabbits that anyone would want to stay clear of. The clan of rabbits then guide Hajime and Yui to a giant tree which requires the power of regeneration and a beacon formed of bonds to open its pathway. Hajime comes to the realization that he needs to explore other labyrinths first. As the duo is heading out, Yui asks Hajime to bring Shia along as she landed a scratch on her face during her training session. And so Shia is welcomed with closed arms. Shia locates the entrance of Milady Risen's labyrinth. The speciality of this labyrinth is that external magic is reduced. Shia, being the underdog, paves the way with her body reinforcement magic. After clearing out the traps, the group find themselves back at the entrance. Realizing that they've been played by Milady, the group is hell-bent on conquering the labyrinth. In the Haled Kingdom, some students have refused to join Kuki's party out of fear caused by Hajime's presumed death. One of the students, Yuka, announces that she has decided to join Aiko, leaving the other students to decide for themselves. At the labyrinth, the group makes it to the final stage where they have to defeat autonomous armored suits. After putting her hammer to a good use, the group has a face-off with Milady, who is in a giant armored suit. Fight ensues after Hajime discloses his goals upon Milady's inquiry. Shia delivers the final blow to Milady's core. In her last moments, Milady warns the lot to be careful of the bastard gods, indicating a future fight. As the group is ready to collect what Milady's lair has to offer, they're greeted by Milady in a harmless form. After collecting Milady's gravity magic, the group is flushed out. When they appear at the surface, Hajime rescues Shia from the water by giving her CPR. She even takes her chance to passionately kiss Hajime. Hajime, being the Chad that he is, forcefully removes Shia and throws her back in the water. The Adventurers Guild summons Hajime's group to find missing adventurers, including a noble son. Hajime begrudgingly takes up the job. As they're traveling to a nearby village, Hajime has a run-in with his classmates and teacher, Aiko. Upon seeing Hajime, Aiko gets sentimental and confronts him about his whereabouts. The reunion is cut short when Aiko's questions are met with inimical shrugs. Aiko finally breaks at the disrespect and lectures Hajime. The Templar Knight, observing the commotion, decides to step in. He approaches Hajime's table and throws disdainful remarks at Yui and Shia. After a warning call, Hajime opens fire at him, injuring his shoulder. At night, Hajime sneaks in Aiko's room to disclose the truth about the war against the demons. Centuries ago, some humans discovered that god Ehe was toying with the humans for amusement. The group came to be known as the Liberators, who wished to liberate humans from Ehet's tyranny. But unfortunately, Ehet made the first move by using the church to label the Liberators as heretics and have them renamed as the Mavericks.